Think budget appetizers are just about potato pancakes and rice balls? Think again. Back in the 1970s, tables were bold, bizarre, and brimming with creativity. These forgotten appetizers tell the story of America in the 1970s, a golden age of experimentation and nostalgia. Today, we're diving into 25 forgotten budget appetizers you were never supposed to eat. Each one a retro appetizer that have faded into history. Potato pancakes. The golden discs that turned kitchen scraps into party starters ruled Depression-era tables across German-American communities. When a single potato could stretch into 3 meals, Pennsylvania's coal mining families perfected these crispy rounds as their Sunday dinner opener. Housewives would grate raw potatoes by hand on metal box graters until their knuckles were raw, mixing the starchy pulp with beaten eggs, a handful of flour, and whatever onions hadn't sprouted in the root cellar. The batter hit sizzling lard in cast iron skillets, spreading into golden pancakes with lacework edges that crackled like autumn leaves. Each bite delivered crispy exterior, giving way to fluffy, steaming interior with sharp onion bite. These weren't just food. They were edible hope, proving that even the humblest potato could become something magnificent when touched by immigrant ingenuity and maternal love. Split pea fritters. Before food processors existed, frugal cooks transformed dried split peas into these addictive golden nuggets using nothing but elbow grease and ingenuity. Popular in New England mill towns during the 1920s, these fritters stretched expensive protein while delivering satisfying substance. The process began by soaking split peas overnight until they swelled like tiny green sponges, then grinding them into coarse paste using hand-crank meat grinders or mortar and pestle. Mixed with chopped onions, salt, and whatever herbs grew wild behind tenement buildings, the thick batter dropped into bubbling fat transformed into irregular spheres with crispy, bumpy exteriors. Inside, the texture resembled savory custard with nutty sweetness and earthy depth. Mill workers' wives served these hot from the oil, often with vinegar for cutting the richness. Each fritter packed more protein than meat at a fraction of the cost, making them essential ammunition in the war against hunger that defined working-class life. Lobster thermidor. Here's where things get interesting. This wasn't wealthy people's food originally. During the 1890s, when lobsters were so plentiful in Maine that feeding them to prisoners was considered cruel and unusual punishment, resourceful home cooks created their own version of the French classic. Coastal families would gather discarded lobster shells from cannery waste piles, filling them with a mixture of chopped lobster meat, thick white sauce made from flour and milk, sharp cheese, and breadcrumbs. The secret was the mustard, yellow powder that added sharp bite without costing extra pennies. These shells went into wood-fired ovens until the tops bubbled golden and the edges curled like autumn leaves. The result tasted like luxury, but cost less than a decent cut of beef. Each shell delivered sweet lobster meat swimming in rich, tangy cream sauce, with satisfying textural contrast from crispy breadcrumb topping. It proved that elegance wasn't about expense. It was about technique and timing. Fried bread with garlic. Italian immigrants brought this aromatic appetizer to American tenements, where it became the unofficial welcome dish for every gathering. In Little Italy, neighborhoods across the Northeast, mothers would slice day-old Italian bread, thick as book spines, then fry each piece in olive oil until golden and crispy. The magic happened when crushed garlic hit the hot oil, releasing perfume that could summon neighbors from 3 floors up. Each slice emerged glistening with oil, rubbed immediately with raw garlic cloves that melted into the warm bread like butter. A sprinkle of coarse salt and maybe some chopped parsley if the family garden was thriving completed the transformation. The texture delivered perfect contrast. Crispy exterior that shattered between teeth, revealing soft, aromatic interior soaked with garlicky oil. This wasn't just an appetizer. It was edible hospitality, proving that the best welcomes come from simple ingredients prepared with generous hearts. Every Italian-American family had their own technique, but the result was always the same: pure comfort on a plate. Bacon-wrapped smokies. During the post-war boom of the 1950s, when cocktail parties became the height of suburban sophistication, clever hostesses discovered that wrapping cheap cocktail sausages in bacon created instant elegance on a shoestring budget. These bite-sized beauties became the crown jewel of church potlucks and neighborhood gatherings. The preparation was deceptively simple: small smokies wrapped snugly in bacon strips, secured with toothpicks, then baked until the bacon rendered crispy and the sausages plumped like little pillows. As they cooked, the bacon fat infused the smokies while creating caramelized edges that crackled between teeth. Each bite delivered smoky, salty perfection with textural contrast between crispy bacon and tender sausage. The genius lay in presentation. These looked expensive and sophisticated, despite costing pennies per piece. Housewives could serve them on their best china, and nobody questioned the family budget. They proved that sometimes the simplest combinations create the most memorable flavors, turning everyday ingredients into party-worthy sophistication. Rice balls. Long before arancini became trendy, Italian-American families were transforming leftover rice into these golden spheres of comfort. Born from the ancient tradition of never wasting food, these appeared at every family gathering from christenings to funeral wakes. The process began with day-old risotto or plain rice, mixed with beaten eggs, grated cheese, and sometimes tiny pieces of leftover meat or vegetables. Experienced hands rolled the mixture into perfect spheres, then rolled them in breadcrumbs that clung like golden armor. Into hot oil they went, bobbing and turning until every surface achieved perfect bronze color. The exterior shattered like thin ice, revealing creamy interior with pockets of melted cheese and savory surprises. Each ball delivered comfort food satisfaction with sophisticated flavor complexity. They proved that Italian grandmothers could transform the humblest leftovers into something that tasted like it came from the finest restaurant kitchen. The secret was love, patience, and the immigrant wisdom that nothing good should ever go to waste. Cocktail meatballs. These miniature marvels became the darling of 1960s entertaining, when hostesses discovered that tiny meatballs in sweet and sour sauce could make ground beef stretch to feed a crowd. Swedish-American communities perfected the technique, creating perfect spheres, no bigger than walnuts that packed maximum flavor into minimum space. The meat mixture combined ground beef with breadcrumbs soaked in milk, minced onions, and spices that made the whole kitchen smell like grandmother's embrace. Rolling required patient hands and practiced technique. Too much handling made them tough. Too little left them falling apart in the pan. They simmered gently in sauce made from grape jelly and chili sauce, an unlikely combination that created complex, sweet, tangy flavor profile. Each meatball delivered tender texture with caramelized exterior, swimming in glossy sauce that clung perfectly to toothpicks. They transformed humble ground beef into elegant party food, proving that creativity could make anything feel special. Every housewife had her secret ingredient, but the result was always the same: irresistible comfort food dressed up for company.
Sardine rolls. Before sushi made raw fish trendy, Depression-era cooks created these sophisticated appetizers using canned sardines and remarkable culinary creativity. Popular in coastal New England towns where fishing families understood that sardines were just small herring with better marketing, these rolls stretched expensive protein while delivering surprising elegance. The process began with fresh bread slices, crusts removed, then rolled flat with rolling pins until they resembled thin crepes. Mashed sardines mixed with cream cheese, lemon juice, and finely chopped onions created filling that balanced fish oils with creamy richness and bright acidity. The bread wrapped around the filling, secured with toothpicks, then sliced into perfect pinwheels that revealed spiral patterns like edible art. Each bite delivered complex flavor layers: briny fish, tangy cream cheese, sharp onion bite, all wrapped in soft bread that absorbed the filling's moisture. These weren't desperate poverty food. They were sophisticated appetizers that happened to cost almost nothing. They proved that good taste doesn't require expensive ingredients, just thoughtful preparation and respect for traditional techniques. Crab rangoon. Despite the exotic name, these crispy wontons stuffed with cream cheese and crab became budget-friendly staples at American Chinese restaurants in the 1950s, where immigrant cooks adapted traditional techniques to local tastes and ingredients. The genius lay in using imitation crab and cream cheese, both affordable substitutes that created authentic tasting results. Wonton wrappers, thin as tissue paper, held filling made from cream cheese beaten smooth with tiny pieces of crab, green onions, and just enough garlic to add depth without overwhelming delicate flavors. Folding required technique. Each corner pulled to center, edges sealed with water, creating perfect purses that resembled golden flowers after frying. Into hot oil they went, puffing and bubbling until crispy shells developed with beautiful golden color. Each piece delivered textural perfection, crispy exterior that shattered to reveal hot, creamy interior with subtle crab sweetness and tangy cream cheese richness. They proved that fusion cuisine worked best when it respected both traditions while creating something entirely new. Every Chinese-American restaurant had their own version, but all delivered the same satisfaction. Tomato aspic. This shimmering jewel of mid-century entertaining might look strange today, but it represented sophisticated appetizer artistry when gelatin was expensive and refrigeration wasn't guaranteed. Popular at ladies' luncheons and bridge parties during the 1940s, these translucent towers showcased fresh tomato flavor in elegant presentation. The process required patience and precision. Fresh tomato juice simmered with onions, celery, and herbs until flavors concentrated into essence of summer, then strained until crystal clear. Unflavored gelatin bloomed in cold water before dissolving into the hot liquid, creating mixture that set into firm yet tender consistency. Molded in individual ramekins or elaborate ring molds, each aspic emerged as perfect sculpture that captured light like stained glass. The flavor delivered pure tomato intensity with herbal complexity and clean finish that cleansed the palate between courses. Served on lettuce leaves with dollops of mayonnaise, they transformed humble tomatoes into elegant sophistication. They proved that presentation could elevate simple ingredients into restaurant-quality appetizers that impressed guests while respecting tight budgets. Oyster fritters. Long before oysters became expensive delicacies, these golden nuggets were working-class comfort food in coastal communities where oyster shells paved roads and fresh bivalves cost less than potatoes. Baltimore's Polish immigrants perfected the technique during the early 1900s, creating fritters that stretched precious oysters while delivering maximum flavor impact. Fresh oysters, shucked and chopped coarse, mixed into thick batter made from flour, milk, beaten eggs, and enough black pepper to make eyes water. The key was keeping oysters cold until the last moment. Their natural liquor thinned the batter perfectly while adding briny depth that elevated humble ingredients. Spoonfuls dropped into bubbling lard transformed into irregular spheres with crispy, bumpy exteriors that crackled like popcorn. Inside, tender batter surrounded pockets of sweet oyster meat that burst with ocean flavor. Each fritter delivered textural perfection and taste that transported diners straight to the Chesapeake Bay. Served hot with lemon wedges or malt vinegar, they proved that the best seafood preparations respected the ingredient's natural flavor rather than masking it with heavy sauces.
Egg rolls. American Chinese restaurants in the 1960s created these crispy cylinders to satisfy customers' desire for familiar vegetables wrapped in satisfying crunch, stretching expensive ingredients while delivering authentic satisfaction. Unlike their traditional Chinese cousins, these featured cabbage, carrots, and bean sprouts bound with cornstarch and seasoned with soy sauce and ginger. The magic happened in the wrapping. Thin egg roll skins brushed with beaten egg, filled with vegetable mixture, then rolled tight as cigars with ends tucked perfectly. Into hot oil they went, bobbing and turning until every surface achieved golden perfection with texture, like autumn leaves. The exterior shattered between teeth, releasing steam that carried ginger and soy aromas, revealing crispy tender vegetables with satisfying crunch and clean flavors. Each roll delivered textural complexity and taste that seemed exotic, yet familiar, satisfying American appetites while respecting Chinese techniques. Served with duck sauce or sweet and sour dipping sauce, they proved that adaptation could honor tradition while creating something entirely new. Every Chinese restaurant had their own vegetable combination, but all delivered the same golden satisfaction: bacon-wrapped liver. This might sound intimidating today, but during the 1940s, when protein rationing made every scrap precious, clever cooks discovered that wrapping chicken liver in bacon created appetizers that tasted like expensive pâtés. The technique originated in Jewish American communities, where liver was kosher protein that stretched food budgets while delivering serious nutrition. Fresh chicken livers, cleaned and trimmed, were wrapped snugly in bacon strips, secured with toothpicks, then pan-fried until the bacon rendered crispy, and the liver cooked just until pink inside. The bacon fat prevented the liver from drying out, while adding smoky richness that balanced organ meat's mineral intensity. Each piece delivered complex flavor layers: crispy bacon exterior, giving way to creamy liver center, with iron-rich depth and satisfying richness. The key was not overcooking. Perfect liver remained pink and creamy like butter, while overcooked liver became grainy and bitter. Served hot with cocktail picks, they proved that the most nutritious ingredients could become elegant appetizers when treated with respect and skill. They turned necessity into sophistication. Salmon mousse. During the 1970s, when entertaining became an art form and every hostess needed signature dishes, resourceful cooks discovered that canned salmon could create mousse that rivaled expensive smoked varieties. This elegant appetizer transformed humble pantry staples into sophisticated presentation worthy of the finest cocktail parties. The process began with quality canned salmon, bones removed and flaked fine, then folded into mixture of cream cheese, beaten smooth with lemon juice, fresh dill, and tiny minced onions. Unflavored gelatin bloomed in cold water, dissolved the mixture, creating consistency that held perfect shape when molded. Chilled overnight in fish-shaped molds or elegant terrines, the mousse emerged as pale pink sculpture with silky texture and complex flavor. Each spoonful delivered creamy richness with bright lemon acidity, fresh dill aromatics, and salmon's natural oils that coated the palate with satisfying richness. Served with crisp crackers or toast points, garnished with capers and lemon wedges, it proved that presentation could transform everyday ingredients into restaurant-quality elegance. Every hostess had her secret ingredient, but all delivered the same sophisticated satisfaction: smoked eel. Before expensive restaurants made eel trendy, immigrant communities treasured this rich, oily fish as affordable luxury that delivered complex flavors and serious nutrition. Popular in Dutch and German neighborhoods during the early 1900s, smoked eel appeared at every celebration from weddings to harvest festivals. Local fishermen caught eels in rivers and streams, then smoked them over hickory or apple wood until the skin turned mahogany brown and the flesh became silky and rich. The smoking process concentrated flavors while preserving the fish, creating protein that kept without refrigeration while delivering taste that seemed impossibly sophisticated. Served sliced thin on dark bread with cream cheese or horseradish, each bite delivered complex flavor layers: smoky exterior, giving way to rich, oily interior with clean finish and satisfying richness that filled the stomach for hours. The texture resembled butter, with subtle fish flavor that appealed even to seafood skeptics. It proved that traditional preservation methods could create delicacies that rivaled the finest imports, turning local ingredients into celebration-worthy luxury through patience and skill. Fried cheese curds. Long before gastropubs made them trendy, Wisconsin dairy families created these golden nuggets as a way to use fresh cheese curds before they lost their distinctive squeak. Born from practical necessity in cheese-making communities, these became essential appetizers at fish fries, church suppers, and county fairs throughout the upper Midwest. Fresh curds, still warm from the cheese-making process, were dipped in light batter made from beer, flour, and cornmeal, then dropped into hot oil until they achieved perfect golden color, with texture like crispy pillows. The exterior shattered between teeth, releasing steam that carried sharp cheddar aromas, revealing molten cheese interior that stretched like taffy and delivered pure dairy richness. The key was timing. Curds had to be fresh enough to squeak when bitten, indicating optimal moisture and acidity levels. Each piece delivered textural perfection and flavor that transported diners straight to Wisconsin farmland. Served hot with ranch dressing or marinara sauce, they proved that the simplest ingredients could create the most memorable experiences when treated with respect and proper technique. Olive puffs. These sophisticated little spheres became the darling of 1950s cocktail parties, when clever hostesses discovered that wrapping olives in cheese pastry created elegant appetizers that looked expensive but cost almost nothing. Popular in communities with Mediterranean heritage, these combined two affordable ingredients into something that seemed impossibly refined. The process began with sharp cheddar cheese, grated fine, and mixed with flour, butter, and enough paprika to add color and warmth. Green olives, pitted and drained, were wrapped individually in small portions of the cheese mixture, then rolled into perfect spheres and baked until golden and puffed. The pastry developed crispy exterior that yielded to reveal salty olive surprise surrounded by melted cheese with sharp, tangy flavor that balanced the olive's brininess. Each puff delivered textural contrast and flavor complexity that seemed far more sophisticated than the simple ingredient list suggested. They proved that Mediterranean flavors could adapt to American entertaining styles while maintaining their essential character. Every hostess had her own technique for achieving perfect puff, but all delivered the same elegant satisfaction. Potted liver on crackers. Before expensive pâtés became fashionable, thrifty cooks created this smooth, rich spread using chicken or calf liver, transformed through patient technique into sophisticated appetizer worthy of the finest tables. Popular in British American communities during the Depression, this stretched expensive protein while delivering luxury taste experience. Fresh liver, cleaned and trimmed, simmered gently with onions, herbs, and white wine until tender enough to mash smooth. The mixture was pounded with butter until silky consistency developed, then seasoned with brandy, salt, and white pepper until flavors balanced perfectly. Packed into small crocks and sealed with clarified butter, it kept for weeks while developing complex flavors that improved with age. Served on crisp crackers or toast points, each bite delivered rich, creamy texture with deep, complex flavor that coated the palate with satisfying richness. The key was not overcooking the liver, which became grainy and bitter when heated too long. It proved that traditional techniques could transform humble ingredients into sophisticated delicacies that rivaled expensive imports. Fried sardine toast. Portuguese and Italian fishing communities perfected these crispy triangles as a way to transform canned sardines into elegant appetizers that showcased Mediterranean flavors while stretching tight budgets. Popular at feast day celebrations and family gatherings, these combined pantry staples into something that seemed far more sophisticated than their humble origins suggested. Fresh bread, sliced thick, and crusts removed, was topped with sardines, mashed smooth with garlic, olive oil, and lemon juice until mixture resembled coarse pâté. Each triangle was dredged in beaten eggs, then breadcrumbs seasoned with herbs, creating coating that would crisp beautifully when fried. Into hot olive oil they went, turning golden and crispy, while the sardine mixture warmed through and developed complex flavors. The exterior shattered to reveal hot, aromatic filling with intense fish flavor, balanced by bright lemon acidity and garlic warmth. Each bite delivered textural perfection and taste that transported diners to Mediterranean coastlines. They proved that traditional techniques could elevate humble ingredients into celebration-worthy appetizers that honored both heritage and budget constraints. Cod fritters. New England fishing families created these golden spheres as a way to use every scrap of their precious catch, transforming salt cod into crispy appetizers that delivered serious flavor and nutrition. During the colonial period, when cod was so plentiful it was called New England's silver mine, these fritters appeared at every church supper and town gathering. Salt cod, soaked overnight to remove excess salt, was flaked fine and mixed into thick batter made from flour, eggs, milk, and enough black pepper to warm the throat. The key was balancing moisture. Too wet and the fritters fell apart. Too dry and they became tough as leather. Spoonfuls dropped into bubbling lard, transformed into irregular golden spheres, with crispy, bumpy exteriors that concealed tender fish inside. Each fritter delivered clean cod flavor, with satisfying texture and richness from the oil that carried memories of ocean spray and salty air. Served hot with lemon wedges or tartar sauce, they proved that traditional preservation methods created ingredients that were often superior to fresh alternatives. They turned necessity into celebration, honoring both the sea and the skills that sustained coastal communities.